Hi, I'm Ivy. This is my first time appearing on camera. I like literature, especially novel, so I think I can share my favorite books with everyone. In this video, I'm going to share the most prominent novel by my favorite writer, CC. Her novel, My City, is famous for its narrative format, a moving narrative. This novel was written in the 1970s. At that time, Hong Kong rarely had self-conscious novels. Well, you can tell me if you know one. In the second to last chapter, the author appeared as nonsense, explaining that the story was written in the style of moving narrative. The author even self-criticized her work, mentioning the structure is loose, the characterization is messy, and there's no storyline. It is true that when I first read My City 20 years ago when I was at secondary school, I had no idea what it's talking about, and I even couldn't remember one single plot. Just a lot of question marks in my mind. But then after 20 years, I read it again. I find it is heartwarming, full of humor, and surrealistic elements. It criticizes the world in an innocent way. And what makes me feel most heartwarming is that it always offers hope for our world and its playful imagination of the future. It even suggests that we Earth people might one day become Mars people or Jupiter people or Venus people. Each chapter can be an independent story, but they are interconnected. Therefore, I would still recommend you guys reading from the beginnings. The story I will share is chapter 10. In the story, the narrator is you. So in the following, when I say you, it refers to the main character. You woke up and found that you are lying on a postal parcel, and the surroundings were wrapped in a sheet of plastic. The chairs, the bus stop, the ice cream van, the high-rise building, the airport, everything became a puzzle. You walked from the city to the countryside and saw some plastic bags floating on the sky. Inside the plastic bags, there were winds and clouds. What's more strange and surreal was that when you said good morning, the words also became wrapped up as soon as the words came out of your mouth. Finally, you saw a person. This person was holding a saw and kept cutting the sky in all directions. You thought he was just doing exercise. By the time you want to approach him to ask questions, he already walked to you and gave you two objects to choose from, his saw or the huge sheet of plastic.
Take your choice. You can choose the sheet of plastic, spread it out, walk inside, and wrap it around yourself. You'd then become like all other objects, a parcel. Or you can choose the sword. Sword in hand, you can cut open all the parcels in the city. You can cut the ropes that have tied up all objects. You can cut the screens that seal off all objects. However, there are many, many parcels, and the ropes and plastic are special, new products. The strangest part is, after you have cut them, they sew themselves back up again in no time. Cutting open parcels will therefore be a job you'd never finish.
The swordsman said he did not have the ability to cut all the ropes, but he did not want to become a puzzle either. So he decided to cut the sky every day, hoping that he will tear it somewhere so he can get out. So now I guess you already think that this story wants to raise the issue of environmental problems and the isolation of people in the city. For me, there is a second layer to the story. The action of cutting the sky is somehow too innocent or even meaningless, because we all know there is no way to cut the sky. The sky could refer to something we won't be able to change, for example, our family origins or our blood. On the other hand, breaking the puzzle is a never-ending job, a ceaseless task. The puzzle could refer to the social system or social value where you try to break one, but after that another new one will come up. So in reality, we basically have three choices generally. Choice one being submissive, be the puzzled, join the system, and embrace the mainstream value. Choice two being perseverant, break the puzzle and do the endless task. Choice three being idealistic, break the sky to find a new way out beyond all existing limitations. At the end of the story, the character did not make a choice. They take a rest and fall asleep. For me, this is an open ending. It lets our readers make our own choice, being submissive or idealistic. The action of breaking the puzzle and cutting the skies reminds me of the story of The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. Sisyphus has to push a rock up a mountain and the rock will fall again, so he has to push it again and again. So are the characters in the story doing something naive and meaningless? Just like in real life, we do things that our parents or society treat as useless. I would say the most meaningful issue for human beings to think about is whether to support euthanasia or not. For all other issues, they could be both meaningful and meaningless, because whatever action and decisions in life, we could give them meaning. We are the one giving them meaning, because meaning is man-made. As long as we are alive, we can create meaning. By the way, there is a chapter in My City that depicts euthanasia. The story is very calm and surrealistic. Okay, so that's my sharing on chapter 10 of My City. See you next time, and I will share another Hong Kong literary work. From my logical guess, the idea of wrapping everything likely comes from the artwork of Crystal and Jean Claude. Packages and wrapped objects were their famous artwork during 1960s in France. Cici was very aware of what was happening in the world and of course the art scenes and literary scenes in Europe. Furthermore, in the story, the text stated that perhaps this bus stop will be sent to some exhibitions somewhere.